program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A dazzling start to our afternoon safari, where hopefully we will continue to dazzle you with the amazing sights and sounds, but perhaps not smells, of Africa. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome on our sunset safari, where we're starting off with a herd of zebra, back onto our normal schedule of a 3-hour live safari. Very kids are joining us from Henry B. Birkland School. It's lovely to have you all on board, and I just need to introduce myself and say hello to you all this afternoon on this safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Fergus is on camera with me, and we are watching a herd of zebra. For all of our regular viewers, we'll be chatting to the school this afternoon, but you can still send through your questions, and you can do that using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We're coming to you from a place called the Kruger National Park, which is in South Africa, kids. So we're right on the southern section of the African continent, right up in the top northeastern corner. So you guys can send through all of your questions. Hopefully we'll have some exciting things to show you. And saying that, my zebra have all but vanished. At least we've got the stallion over here. So this is a breeding herd of zebra. And let me just move forward ever so slightly so that you can see them. Here we go. There's the herd over there. Now, basically, the way that zebras live is... Thought I just heard thunder. That would be a surprise. The way that zebras live is they live in breeding herds. They have a harem. And what I mean by that is that it's a group of females and their babies, and then one stallion that looks after them and fathers all of the babies. And you can see they're all looking very healthy. We've had plenty of rain this year, so the grass is nice and green, and that's made the zebras very, very happy indeed. Look at their gorgeous stripes, black against white. They're definitely one of the prettiest creatures that we see out here. Here we go. That is the stallion. So he's basically the boss of this herd, or at least he likes to think so. And he will defend all of the females against potential predators. And even if they get attacked, if a zebra foal, so one of his babies gets attacked, he'll actually rush in and try and defend it. But the females are the ones that lead the group. So there'll be a female in the front, and she will tell the group where to go, and he walks behind and makes sure that nothing comes and attacks them from the back. And zebra are very, very strong animals, so they can kick and they can bite. But for us here, sitting in the vehicle, it's perfectly safe and absolutely beautiful to sit and watch. Now, it's not just myself out here. There are 2 other people that you have to meet, and I think we're going to go across to James first.
Hello everybody, and welcome to what is a very gorgeous afternoon here in South Africa. That is a hornbill that you've just looked at. My name is James, and you can ask me any questions you like, same as you can Jamie and Tristan, and you just have to tell your teacher what you want to know. She will then ask us, and we will do our level best to tell you what's going on. I've got a chap called Craig on camera today. Hello, Craig. Craig says hello to you all, and Craig looks like Batman. He does. Now, that special bird is trying to catch caterpillars, I think, and maybe beetles as well. And what's really interesting is that he's allowing us to get quite close to him. So we're just going to move around him. And then I will tell you a little bit more about what it is that he does, and why I think that he's so comfortable with us being so close to him. We're not more than 30 feet from him. There's a nice picture of him there. Now, the reason he's letting us get so close to him is because he lives quite close to where we live, and we're not far away from our camp, and so I think that he is used to having people around him. And that means that he's just not afraid of us. He knows that we are not a threat to him. He knows that we're not going to try and catch him and eat him. Whereas many of the animals out here, they don't know something, well, they become immediately afraid of it because they assume that it's going to try and eat them. So that is a very beautiful bird, and we're going to carry on and see what else we can find. We are, of course, on foot, not in the vehicles. The other chap in the vehicles today is the big beefy form of Tristan, and he wants to say hello to you now.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset drive, and a special warm welcome to the school that has joined us this afternoon. I hope you're all going to have a wonderful time with us as we explore the wilds of Africa. And as you can see, we've got a tiny little antelope moving around. This antelope is called a steenbok. Now, a steenbok is an Afrikaans word, and it basically means a rockbuck, and I'll tell you why it's called that in just a little bit. My name is Tristan, and on camera today we have Sebastian, and we are going to try and show you as many wonderful things as we can as we explore the wilderness. Now remember, you can get your questions through by asking your teacher to send them, and for all of you that are watching that are not at school, you can also send your questions through to #SafariLive on Twitter, and we'll get to them a little bit later once we have finished with the schools. Now, I'm trying to just reverse to try and see if we can't get to our steenbok again, but it seems like he's run off, unfortunately. Now, I was saying it's called a steenbok, and so steen in Afrikaans basically refers to a stone, and bok is a buck. Now, the reason why it's called that is because that little sort of orangey red color, when that steenbok is scared, it will lie in the grass and it will tuck everything into a little ball, and all you see is that little red top, and it looks like a stone, and the predator then moves away. So it's a very clever little antelope, and that was a fully grown male. Even though it was so small and the size of about a baby goat, it is still a fully grown big adult male. So they are the smallest antelope that we see in this area. Now, we are going to try and see what we can find this afternoon. We're going to go down to some of my favorite waterholes and see if we can't find some big elephants or maybe even a leopard. And while we do that, I believe Jamie has found something with lots of stripes.
I have indeed found us an even better view of something with stripes. In fact, lots of different things with stripes. There's probably about 8 zebra in this herd, of all ages. So there's a couple of adult females, and then the one on the left is actually quite a young zebra. Now, Jocelyn, while we watch them enjoying their afternoon snack, you want to know if zebras will eat anything more than grass. They don't. They are pure grazers. Perhaps every now and again they might eat a leaf or two, especially last year when we didn't have very much rain, so the grass wasn't growing very well. Then you might find that zebra will nibble on a leaf or two, but really they only eat grass. And that's one of the reasons why they look so fat. And it's not because they are fat, it's because their body has to break down the grass. And in doing that, it works together with microscopic bacteria that lives in their stomach and in their intestines. And that actually breaks down the grass. And as it breaks down the grass, it produces lots and lots of gas. And that's why zebra always look so very round and healthy. Even when they're not, they still look as though they've got round bellies. But yes, zebra will eat only grass. Now, Ashley, you want to know if zebras run fast. Ashley, zebra run very, very fast, and they're probably capable of maybe even reaching around about 60 kilometers per hour, possibly even faster if they're really sprinting away from an animal, and they can run for quite a long time. There's some animals out here that can't run for very long, but zebra have got quite good stamina. However, I'm sure many of you have perhaps seen a movie or thought about what it might be like to ride a zebra. You can't ride zebra. They're related to horses, but they're not horses, and their backs aren't strong enough to support the weight of a human being. So even though they look like horses, they definitely can't be ridden. That and the fact that they actually don't tame very easily at all. Even tame zebras that have been raised by people, they tend to bite and kick regardless. So you can't ride a zebra, even though they do look as though they'd be very cool to ride, and even though they can run very, very fast, you definitely can't ride a zebra. These zebra are doing exactly what Tristan said. Remember how Tristan said he was going to go and check the water holes? These zebra are going down to drink. So they're going to go and have a quick drink at one of the water holes. And I think we'll keep up with them for a little bit, and then we'll probably leave them and go see what else we can find. Maybe we'll beat Tristan to a leopard. Who knows? Oh, look at that, look at that. Look at that Nyala. I'll get back to the zebra in a second, but I have to show you something really cool. Look at those Nyala over there. Now that is a type of antelope, and you see how puffed up he is, and the way that he's walking? That is how Nyala solve disagreements. So there's two males there, one on the left and one on the right, and they're both roughly the same size. So what the one on the right is doing is he's made himself really, really puffy to intimidate the other male and basically say, look at me, I'm much, much bigger than you. And for some reason, Nyala find it very intimidating when another Nyala bull walks really slowly. It seems to be their thing, because they don't really want to fight, because if you fight out here, you could get injured, and they can't rush off to the doctor. So they try and avoid fighting with each other. Now, in contrast to the zebra that we saw earlier, Aliyah, you want to know, what do antelope eat? Most antelope are mixed feeders. In other words, they eat a mixture of grass and leaves. In the case of an Nyala, they're basically browsers. So they're kind of the opposite of a zebra. They might eat grass every now and again, but most of their diet will be the leaves off the trees. So different animals are adapted to eat different things out here. He's vanished. Completely vanished. Just see the top of his back and the tips of his horns. Obviously intimidated by the other male's display of strength. Now, let's catch up with our zebra quickly, because I know, Mackenzie, you have a question about zebra as well. Just give me 1 second and I'll get you another view. I'm going to get you a view and then I will answer Mackenzie's question. Let's go plonk ourselves in the shade here, because there's a young zebra, and Mackenzie wants to know about young zebra. There they go. Before they disappear, Mackenzie, you want to know, are the zebra born with stripes? They are born with stripes, and each and every single zebra's stripes are completely unique. So all of you, look at your hands. Look at your hands right now, and look at your fingertips. Look at your fingerprints. On each and every person, that fingertip is different. That fingerprint is different. Look at your fingerprints and look at the fingerprints of your friend next to you. They're completely different, and zebra are like that too. Each one has a different pattern of stripes. So if you wanted to, you could get to know each and every single individual zebra if you sat and looked at their different stripes. Off they go towards the water hole to drink. Unfortunately, we can't follow them there because I don't want to go and interrupt the guests who haven't gone out yet, and there's a lodge right there. Danica, lovely to have you. Now, Danica, you want to know, are zebra born from eggs? Did I hear that right, Bex? You want to know if zebra foals hatch. They don't, because they're mammals. So zebra, along with most of the other mammals except for the platypus, they don't lay eggs. They actually give birth to live young, just like people do. People have babies, zebra have babies in exactly the same way. So they don't hatch from eggs. Birds and reptiles, absolutely, they will lay eggs. And then the platypus in Australia, because there's some very strange animals there. A platypus is a mammal, but it does lay eggs, which is very peculiar. Most mammals give birth to live young. Lovely question, Danica. Oh, some of us have got to do some work, but it seems as though James is already exhausted and taking a break.
Phew! It's such a hot day. It isn't actually very hot. It's a very nice day. It's probably risen in temperature since we started to about 73 or so degrees Fahrenheit, because I'm sitting with the lovely African sun on my back, and it feels very nice indeed. The other thing that likes sun, of course, is flowers. Here is one flower, and here is another. One, a beautiful red colour, and although it's a very beautiful flower, it has a bit of a lesson to learn. It's not from here. It's all the way from Peru. It's called Zinnia peruviana. Now, you don't need to remember that, but I wonder if you wouldn't ask your teacher where Peru is, and then ask her to point out where on the map we are in relation to Peru, and you'll see that we're a very, very, very long way away from that. And this is called an alien plant. So it's a plant that is growing here that is not from here. Now, sometimes that can be a really bad thing, because they can take over areas that would otherwise be occupied with native vegetation. So you'd have vegetation and flowers from this area that would be taken over by plants like this. But this particular one, it's not a real problem. It's just not from here, which is quite interesting. But it's very beautiful, isn't it? And then we've got another one here called an elephant's ear. I don't really know why it's called an elephant's ear, but there it's got beautiful sort of orangish yellow flowers, and we've been watching an orange butterfly flying from flower to flower to flower, and they do that because just inside here is a little nectary, and a nectary is like a sort of juice box that is growing inside the flower, and the butterflies know where to find the juice box, and they fly along here and they stick their proboscises. You know what a proboscis is? It's like a long nose. They stick their long proboscises into the nectary and they drink, it's like a straw. They drink all of the nectar out of that beautiful flower. Isn't that nice? Now, Tristan is looking for animals. I don't know which animals he's looking for, but what he's got now tells him that the animal that he seeks is close by.
So this is so exciting, guys. Just now I said I wanted to try see if I can check some of the water holes for any signs of elephant or leopard, and we've come across some fresh leopard tracks. So what we have here is a male leopard, a young male leopard that has walked here. He's got a very, very, very clear print over here, and we know that it's a leopard because of three factors. The first, that there is no sign of any claws. So at the front here, at the edge of the toes, you can't see any claws because the leopard's claws are actually inside of its little toes, and they get protracted out when they need to use them. The other reason is at the back of the track we have 1, 2, 3 lobes, and so that is only in the cats. You'll only find that in cheetah, leopard and lion, and then the smaller cats. And the other thing that we know that is very leopard about it is the size. Alright, a track like this, if it was a lion, would be with a little baby cub, and it would have to be with a mom, whereas if it was a cheetah it would be much longer. So we know that that's a leopard. And then underneath the leopard tracks, which are also from today, are elephant tracks. So just next to it, I'll draw a little track here. This is a back foot of a very young elephant, but you can see there the wrinkles are of its feet, and here it's a little bit more smooth and a little bit indented at the front, which means that this leopard and the elephants were both walking towards the nearest waterhole. So we're going to go quickly there and just see if we can't find where these animals are. I'm hoping that they'll be resting in the shade and we'll be able to find them. Now I've got to just dodge some bushes as we get round back to the car. But this is so exciting. I'm pretty sure that this leopard can't be too far away, and hopefully with a bit of luck, because it's still quite warm now, that we'll get this leopard sleeping under a tree close by. Now the reason why I know the tracks are fresh is because they are on top of the rain which we had this morning, so hopefully they'll be somewhere close. Now, we have 2 sets of tracks. We had the leopard and the elephant, and I believe Jamie has found one of them.
How lucky are we? We didn't even have to follow the tracks. I just drove along the road, and here is an entire herd of elephants. In complete contrast, of course, to yesterday when I drove everywhere and couldn't find any. They're now right out in the open, and what a beautiful sight this is. For all of the kids watching, these are really amazing, amazing creatures. They're the biggest land mammal on the planet, And not only that, they're absolutely one of my favorite creatures to spend time with. And the reason that I love spending time with elephants is because they're so intelligent. They've got a brain that's 3 times the size of ours, and they live almost as long as a human being. So they can live up to 60 years, sometimes even 70 years. So they live for a really very long time. And they've got these amazing bonds between the little ones and their mothers. Look at this. Isn't that sweet? You're getting a bit big to still be drinking milk, little one. That baby is trying to suckle from mum, in other words, to drink some milk. And we were talking about mammals and the fact that zebra give birth and that they're mammals. Mammals also produce milk and suckle their babies. And that's what this young elephant is doing. And I say it's getting a little bit old because you can almost see it's got tusks now that are poking through, just a few inches starting to grow. And you can see it's also eating some grass. So it's old enough now that it doesn't need to drink mum's milk. Oh, and here comes the whole herd wandering out slowly but surely. Lots and lots of babies. All of these elephants will be related to each other in some way. So there'll be mothers, there'll be daughters, there'll be sisters, there'll be cousins. They're all related. It's like one big family all together. So elephant herd moves together with females and their little ones. And if there is a male elephant, once he reaches sort of basically when he becomes a teenager and he's old enough to leave, then he leaves the herd and he wanders about, sometimes with other boys and then sometimes just on his own. But the ladies stay together the whole time. Hey girls. Now don't forget, kids, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can send them through to us, because what you're seeing is happening right here in South Africa. Right here and right now, there's an elephant walking right in front of us. And an example of a question would be maybe something like, what does an elephant use those tusks for? Because, of course, that's one of the most noticeable things about an elephant. They've got tusks that stick out on either side of their trunk. And they use those tusks for different things. Sometimes it's fighting, sometimes it's digging. They also use it to scrape the bark off the trees, especially in winter when there's not much grass around. Then they scrape bark using their tusks, and then they pull and they peel it off, and they eat it. Oh, look at the little baby there. Hello, little one. You are so cute. Let's see how tiny that one is. That's quite a young baby. Our elephant babies have such a good life because the whole herd will protect a little elephant calf. Even if they're not its mother, they'll still protect it and they'll still look after it. And if there's any predators around, the mothers will gather together and spread together in a circle and put the little ones in the middle, so they protect them from any predators. And of course, being an elephant calf, they've got cousins and siblings to play with, so they're never ever lonely. They always have friends around them. And that's one of the other things I love about elephants. Charlotte, yay, Charlotte sent through a question. Well done, Charlotte. Charlotte, you want to know how heavy is a baby elephant when it is born? And Charlotte, the answer to that is it can be 100 kilograms. That's over 200 pounds. That's much, much more than, well, I mean, it's easily the weight of an adult man when it's born. Isn't that incredible to think, oh, look. It's learning to use its trunk. Just like when you were small, you had to learn to use your hands and you had to learn how to write and hold a pen and all of those things. That is what this baby elephant is learning to do. And it's not learning very well. It's just thrown that whole clump of grass away. Oh, try again. Keep trying. So unlike human beings, you know that a mummy keeps the baby in her tummy for 9 months. Elephants Cute. Elephants will keep their babies in their tummies for 22 months. That's nearly 2 years before they're born. And we're watching the one little elephant learn to use its trunk, wrapping it around the grass. And a lovely question coming through from Madison. Madison, you want to know, what do elephants use their trunks for? Lots and lots of different things, Madison. So an elephant's trunk is basically like your hand, in a way, except, of course, it's its nose. But they use them in the same way that you might use your hand. So there, see how that baby's using it to scoop up dirt? That's one of the things that an elephant uses its trunk for, to throw dirt over their backs to help to protect their skin from the sun. Cute, man. They also use it to eat. So they wrap it around the grass and then they move the grass from their trunk into their mouths. They use it to break branches if they want to get to the fresh leaves at the top. They will use it for so many different things. They also use it to drink water. Now, you all know how uncomfortable it is when you get water up your nose, when you choke and you get a drink up your nose. Elephants aren't bothered by that at all, and what they do is they use their trunk like a straw, kind of. They suck the water up, and then they hold it in their trunks, and they move their trunks to their mouths, and then they drink from there. Oh, they're so cute. I'm going to keep watching these elephants, but it seems as though James has found an elephant of his own.
See the other one there? We're sitting here, everybody, with the same herd of elephants, but it's such a very big herd of elephants that it's spread over an enormous area. And I'm speaking very quietly because, of course, we are on foot. Now, elephants, although they're so very big, they look at us and they think, oh, there's a predator, and they're afraid. And if they're afraid, then sometimes they will chase us, which obviously we don't want, and so we don't really want them to see us. So we're totally safe where we are now, and we're being very careful to look all around us, making sure that we know where all the elephants are. And at the moment, we know that they're in a big group all across the hillside that you can see over there, and they're moving in between the trees and in between the bushes. And so we're hoping that we won't get too close to them on foot. Joe, you ask a very good question about whether or not elephants can run. Elephants don't run like you and I run. They sort of power walk, Joe. Do you know how if you try and walk really quickly without actually running, I don't know if you've ever done that before, that's basically what elephants do. And although that might sound like they're slow, they're actually very fast. They can move much faster than us. They can move much faster even than Usain Bolt, of course, who is the fastest man in the world. And so they can move very, very quickly indeed. Oh, and I don't know, you probably can't hear that, but their snapping branches are going quah, quah, as they break the branches and push them over and then eat the grass that comes underneath them.
Good afternoon,
And I think that little elephant that you're watching there, not little, that's a big cow that you're watching over there, I think when I made that clicking noise, I think that she heard us, and that's why she stopped and she looked. And she didn't see that we were a threat to her. We're not dangerous to her. We're probably about 300 feet from her. And so at the moment, we and she are completely safe. Well, Nova, you say, how does an elephant scare away predators? Well, it's quite easy for an elephant because they're so big. What makes you scared about a big person? How would a big human being make you scared, Nova? I bet just by being big and by running towards you, you'd be afraid. And it's the same with the elephants. Because they're so very big, they just go... and then they run towards whatever's making them angry, and that thing normally runs away, even if it's a lion. I'm just going to do something quickly here. I'm going to check which way the wind is blowing. So watch the bottom of my sock. Now you can see it's blowing towards where you are and not towards the elephants. Now that's important because the elephants have got very good noses and they can smell us from a very far distance. But because the wind is blowing from them to us, we can smell them, but they cannot smell us. Alrighty, now we're going to go back to Jamie so that you can have a slightly closer look at the elephants. We're going to try and get around this herd so that we can go and track the leopard that Tristan found the tracks of.
Well, there's a certain inevitability that, as James says, let's go and have a closer view, all of our elephants disappear. But luckily, Ferg, look, these two have just popped out over here, and it's two young ones who are wrestling. What are you after? Well, sometimes what happens with young elephants is the one wants what the other one has. In this case, I think they're actually scuffling over a mouthful of grass, and the one is trying to get the other one. Or they just started fighting while the one's still chewing his dinner, or his lunch. Eat your food and then play. Now, Sarah, we've already spoken about baby elephants, but now you want to know how big can an elephant get in terms of size and weight. An elephant can easily, a big male elephant, because a big male elephant is going to be the biggest that you will get, they continue to grow throughout their lives. So they grow bigger and bigger all through their lives. An elephant can reach up to 3, sometimes over 3 meters at the shoulder, that's 9 feet, and can weigh, on average, a really big elephant will probably weigh about 5 tons, which is over 10,000 pounds. But there are records of even heavier elephants that can weigh up to 12 tons, 10 to 12 tons, which is over 20,000 pounds. So they can get very, very big, but that's unusual. That's an exceptionally big elephant. And in big male elephants like that, their tusks can weigh an enormous amount. They can easily weigh 60 or 70 kilograms, which is about 120 odd pounds. So they tusk. Oh. There's lots and lots of elephants in there. You can hear them all trumpeting. And elephants talk to each other all the time. Let's go forward. Let's roll forward a little bit, Ferg, and then we can get you a better view. Elephants talk to each other all the time in constant low rumbles. There we go. There's another view of this elephant. Here we go. Little one over there. The other one has stopped bugging it. Now, Mackenzie, you want to know why do elephants flap their ears backwards and forwards? Mackenzie, that is because ears work as an air conditioning unit. And what I mean by that is inside an elephant's ears are lots and lots and lots of blood vessels. So if you look at your hand, if you stretch out your hand, you can see the sort of the blue veins inside your hands. So elephants have lots of those in their ears and lots of capillaries. And the reason that they have that is because it gets really hot out here sometimes. Sometimes it gets well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and sometimes even hotter, which is one thing for a human being, but for a big elephant, they would get very, very hot. So what they do is they pump blood into their ears, and you can see their ears are quite thin. So they flap their ears, and that creates movement of air, which helps to cool the blood down. And then the blood from their ears goes into the rest of their bodies and helps to cool them down. So that's why elephants flap their ears. It's not because they're cross, it's just to help to keep them cool. So in the same way, if you get a hot cup of tea or a hot cup of hot chocolate and you blow across the top of it to cool it down, that's kind of like what the elephants are trying to do. This is beautiful. Look here, here comes the baby back into the road. Mum's leading it that way. It's lovely watching elephants at this. Oh, look at it run. Run, 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 run. Wait for me, Mummy. Don't leave me behind. It's lovely watching them in this sort of a mood because they're not in a rush to go anywhere. So they go backwards and forwards. They go back on themselves. And I can hear some of the other elephants trumpeting in the direction that that female's looking. So I think that's why she's gone back a little bit. She's just listening for the sound of the other elephants, to hear what they're fussing about. Okay. Just bear with me 1 second. I just need to chat to some of the other guides. Oh, never mind. Lost my chance. So we all communicate on a radio with each other so that we can talk about which way to go and where all the animals are. And I need to just tell them about these elephants, but it can wait. I have got such exciting news for all of you. Now, you've been in South Africa the whole time, but there's someone you haven't met yet, and he is very far away in a different country.
Well, welcome to Kenya. You've just jumped across from South Africa and we've got a whole bunch of lions next to us. A big welcome to our schools today. My name is Brent Smith. I have Zander / my Eggsy on camera with us today. And we are in Kenya on a live safari. And we've got one of my favorite prides of lions. Oh, she's up. She's seen something. What did she see? What did she see? Now, this is the Angama pride. And they live literally just below our camp. And they've got 7 little cubs. There are 4 adult females, but only 2 are here at the moment. They killed a baby buffalo this morning. I saw them when I was on my way to the airport. But have they spotted? What have they spotted up there? I can see there's some zebra in the distance, some topi, some elephant. They're definitely not going to try eat an elephant. And there are 4 females, but there are only 2 here at the moment. The other 2 are lying in the shade a bit behind us where we can't see them. But as you can see, that little buffalo they killed this morning is definitely not provided enough food for this hungry family. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to join them on the hunt. Remember, I look forward to hearing all your questions, and this is very exciting. Now, the lions here hunt during the day quite often, which in other parts of Africa they don't do. Okay, let me just move the car a bit forward there. Now, this pride's favorite food since I've been here, which is only 10 days, is warthog. They seem to hunt warthog a lot. So we're going to stick with them. Can you still see her, Zand? Oh, she's gone to sleep. Oh no, she's not ready to hunt just yet. She's going to have a doo-doo in the bushes. But there's the other female behind us, back next to the tree, still looking up towards where the zebra and things are. It's still quite hot, so that they might slowly get moving, and lions will often do this. They'll move a little bit, lie down for a while. And then you can see one of the other lionesses in the distance. You see her eggs? Yep. Hi, Jocelyn. Jocelyn's wondering, do lions have a good eyesight? They have phenomenal eyesight, Jocelyn, and that is their main sense that they use when they're hunting. Now, they've definitely spotted some movement. Now, as I said, there's quite a lot of game in that area behind us there. Zebra, Impala, and I think those are the 2 things that she's most likely going to go for. I'm just going to jump across to the other side. You see the Impala? You got them? Okay, there's the Impala. Now, Jocelyn, those Impala are very far away, and that lion's definitely spotted them. Now, if we go across to the right, you can see the zebra. Hi, Madison. Madison's wondering, what do lions hunt for? Madison, they'll hunt various different antelope. Zebra, warthog, it's not an antelope, it's a pig, and buffalo. Whatever meat they can get their hands on. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot of different dinner options up there, but I think she seems to be looking at the zebra more than anything else. Now, for a family like hers, 4 adult lionesses, 7 cubs, a zebra will do really nicely to keep them well fed, that they might not have to hunt tomorrow. But at the moment, as I said, they've been catching lots of warthogs, which are quite small, so they're hunting 2 or 3 times a day. Well, and there's some elephants there. Do you see the elephants? There we go. There we go. Nice 2 bull elephants. Oh, lions on the move. So, look, she's looking into the distance, hungry. Now, Maddie's wondering how fast can lions run. They can do about 21 or 20 meters per second, which is very fast, much faster than you, me, or Usain Bolt. Now, of course, these 2 females are nursing the cubs at the moment, so they are even more hungry because they've got to produce milk for the little babies. The babies are about 5 or 6 months old. Now, let's see, is she going to flop down next to the bush, or is she going to keep heading towards the zebra? Hi, Mackenzie. Mackenzie's wondering, do lions only eat meat? Yes, they do, Mackenzie. But sometimes if you see them eating grass, it's because they've got a bit of an upset tummy. But normally they will only eat meat. She's staring off into the distance. Thinking about how good zebra will be for dinner. There's a stiff breeze that's in her favor at the moment. Nia is wondering, can lions climb trees? Yes, they can. They're not nearly as good at climbing trees as leopards, but I've seen these lions in trees quite a few times. Often they'll climb a tree when it's very hot to get away from the biting flies. And if you look carefully around her, you'll see there are lots of flies there, and those are all irritating her and biting her. She's definitely interested in, I'm pretty sure it's the zebra. There might be a warthog or something that I've missed that she might have spotted. And I think she is looking directly at those zebra that are quite close to the elephant. So she's got to be a little bit careful. Here we go, second lioness is up. Hello, big girls. And see how they're using the edge of the bush as cover to make sure they don't get spotted. And there we go. I think we're off on the hunt. Hi, Jocelyn. Jocelyn's wondering, how do I tell if it's a male or female lion? Well, when they're adults, Jocelyn, the male lions have a big bush of hair around their neck that's called a mane, and that will be what tells us that they are males, and the females don't have that. The males have that big bush of hair to protect them when they're fighting with other males to try get some girlfriends. Okay, they're moving up to the road now. I'm just going to stay here for a second, but I'm going to have to move shortly. This could be very, very exciting. Okay, now we're going to have to plan how we're going to keep up with them, because there's quite a lot of water in this area. And we don't want to get stuck when there's lions and elephants around us. Okay. Now I'm convinced they're after the zebra. They're not after the topi, the impala. Definitely after the zebra. I'm just going to move a bit. Okay, hold on, guys. We're going to try to keep up with the lions. Now, you might hear me talking. It's one of the park rangers has just arrived, so I'm just going to say hello to him. About him there. Ah, Simba hunting. Safi sana. Watoto are under that tree there. And then there you can see there's the other ones are Cheni. So hunt him there. I'm going to go around. Hold on, guys. Abadi, the Simba have just started hunting. They're coming up this side. Going this side. Hi, Madison. I didn't quite hear that question. Sorry, I was having a chat with one of the other guides, letting him know where the lions were moving to. Yes. Hi, Maddie. Maddie, that is spot on. Baby lions do lose teeth like we do. When they get to about 6 months old, they'll lose their milk teeth. Now we've got to find a way to get through here without getting stuck. Can you see if there's a way through there, or is that too big a hole? Too big a hole? Okay, let's go further. Okay, so we're going to go quite far around, because there's a big hole where a little river is that we can't cross. And I have crossed it over here before. Well, we're gonna go try find the lions, but while we do that, we're gonna show you a quick view of a nice elephant bull and go across to another creature that's walking. Its name is James.
Right, everybody, here we are, and wasn't that very exciting there in the Masai Mara, 2,000 miles away from here? Absolutely fantastic. Now, we have been trying to avoid those elephants which have been kind of following us, not because they knew where we were, but that's just because they were coming this way. Now, the leopard tracks that Tristan had are just down over there, and so we're going to do our very best to get into that area before that we lose the light and track that animal. Before we do that, though, have a look at this tree. This tree is called a marula tree. One of the most common trees that we get here, and you know, you've seen how many elephants we have here, and you've seen, therefore, how big they are, and this is some of the damage that they do. They push these trees over sometimes. But while many people think, oh no, the elephants have killed the tree, what they've actually done in killing the tree, because they do kill the tree quite often, is they've created a home for hundreds of other things. So if you look over here, you can see the termites have started living here. They've started building their little nests. There we are. And they're eating away at the wood here. And there will be fungus, which is like mushrooms living in here. There will be ants. There will be little beetles. There may even be something called a bark scorpion. That's what I was hoping to find you here. And look at that. I mean, there could be spiders living in here. Things like violin spiders, which are venomous to human beings. Let's keep looking here. We don't want to do this too much, because we don't want to destroy all the homes that these animals have. But I think we're doing it quite carefully, and I can't see any animals living in the pieces that I'm breaking off here. Anyway, they're so easy to break off because they're rotting. They're full of fungus and that sort of thing, and so they're rotting away. Which is amazing. This thing here was probably dug by a woodpecker. And what the woodpeckers do is they come along here, and you know what a woodpecker is. It's a kind of bird that goes, and they dig into the wood, and they take out the little beetle larvae, or worms, and the little caterpillars that they find living inside the wood, which is very special indeed. Alright guys, I hope that you have a wonderful time the rest of your day at school. You've had a good safari with elephants and lions and zebras and all sorts of interesting things. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day at school. For now, we're going to say goodbye to you, and I think we're going to hand you back over to Tristan.
welcome back everybody, and to our normal drive that we are having. Now I've got the sun right in my eyes, so I do apologize if I look like a pirate and I've got one eye closed. The sun is shining directly in them as I look into the camera. Now as you can see, we may have not found an animal, but we have found Mr. James Hendry, who I suppose could be described as an animal by some, although I do not think so. Look at him there, smiling away. Isn't that a lovely smile? And that's a lovely little wave that he's got. Hello, James.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, fine, self.
Very well, thank you.
We're trying to find the leopard now.
Yes, so James is going to follow up on the leopard tracks that we had earlier. The last tracks I had was going towards Treehouse Dam, so I have just spoken to Herbie and updated him, but we're going to just drive around and just check that this leopard hasn't gone a little bit further while James and Herbie try and get it on foot. What happens with leopards, often go into a block and it becomes quite difficult to find the tracks on the road, and so it really helps when you have a gentleman on foot to be able to then look for those tracks in the...
It really helps when you have Herbert with you on foot.
Yes, because you and I are really not talented in the tracking department. No.
There are roughly 7,000 elephants.
Stretched across this entire vista.
Drainage line there.
Yes, I believe so.
I wish you luck with them.
Okay.
You've escaped.
Well done.
You may call for a lift.
Yes, no, I think that's not a bad idea. Those tracks are on top of these elephants, so you should be able to find them. But the rain has hit them, so...
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Goodbye, James.
Bye-bye.
Have fun.
Goodbye.
So, I was just informing James exactly what was going on and keeping him updated. Now, all the elephants that James is talking about that are spread across this entire area, those are tracks that we found earlier, and Hosana's tracks were on top of that. Now, I think it is Hosana, just because we don't really have any other young male leopards that love Treehouse Dam as much as he does, and so I'm hoping that James and Herbie will be able to get into the areas that we can't while we're on a vehicle, and especially with considering that Herbie's got far more skill than both James and I, that he'll be able to then find. Now we've bumped into Jamie. It seems like we're all together this afternoon. I'm thinking it's time for us to start spreading our wings and start moving away from one another. But this is what does happen when you've got sightings all together. You end up with a situation like this where you bump into everybody. Right, so while we carry on, I think Jamie wants to tell you what her plans are, and you can watch from that side.
I do indeed want to tell you my plans. My plans from here is going to be chatting to Tristan for 1 second. But first I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name is Jamie, and we're now back on our regular sunset safari, where clearly James, Tristan and myself have all gathered around exactly the same. That's my fault. I did say I was going somewhere different. I did, yeah. I just wanted to see what they were all shouting at over there. Yeah. Well, I also did. I was getting ready to go on a rescue mission. And then they just got scared by the wildebeest, so they've all run off. Okay. Alright. Okay, I'm going to... Which way are you going to go?
Wherever you want to go.
That way. Okay. Okay, you do that. Alright. Cheers, Tristan.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Seb. I have to tell you what happened with the elephants earlier. I was sitting with them, perfectly calm, everybody was calm, no problems. All of a sudden there was this state of mass panic. Elephants running everywhere, tails stiff, dust clouds flying everywhere. And I was so confused, and I thought perhaps maybe they'd seen a leopard or something. It was the herd of wildebeest had popped out in the middle of the herd of elephants, and they panicked. Elephants are hilarious. They absolutely had a panic attack. They're short-sighted. I mean, and movement, a lot of wildebeest moving together, I can understand. They couldn't quite figure out what was going on. And they all panicked and they all rushed together and formed that protective huddle. The protective huddle around their calves for wildebeest. I had to have a little chuckle. And then one chased the wildebeest around for a while, so I'm not sure who got a bigger fright, if it was the wildebeest or the elephants or me. Shortly after that, because then the big female, the matriarch, decided that I was to blame for all of their misery and decided to come charging at the vehicle. We just retreated a bit further backwards. Not a serious charge, just a few steps towards us, warning. I took that as my cue to depart, and so did the elephants. We've gone our separate ways. Now what, Ferg? Where should we go? I want to go to Cheetah Plains.
Yeah, me too.
And while we trundle along in that direction towards Cheetah Plains, May Dragon, the subject of elephants, you want to know if there are any animals related to elephants. The closest relative that we get out here, you're not going to believe me. You just have to take my word for it, and I'll explain why in a second. The closest relative to an elephant is an animal that looks like a large rat. It's called a rock hyrax, or we get a couple. We get tree hyraxes, we get rock hyraxes. And I'll just find you a picture of what they look like. They're roughly this big. We call them dussies here in South Africa. And they are the elephant's closest relative that we get in this particular area. And the reason behind that, or some of the linking features, is the structure of their teeth. Here we go. That is a rock hyrax. That is Ferg's shadow as well. I didn't plan that very well. Sorry, Ferg. That's entirely my fault. That is a rock hyrax or a rock dussie. Looks just like an elephant, does it not? Of course it doesn't, which is why people are always surprised. The feet structure are very similar. They walk up on their toes in the way that elephants do, even though you don't see it in an elephant's foot in the way that you do on a dussie. The foot structure is very, very similar. They have pectoral mammary glands, in other words, between their front legs, as opposed to most creatures out here, apart from primates, that have their nipples between their back legs. So they have those. The teeth structure is the same. And if I remember correctly, there's something about the digestive system, although I think dussies have a slightly more complex digestive system. They've got a double cecum. So in other words, they've got basically a double intestine. That's the way that they digest plants. So there you go. I bet that wasn't what you were expecting when you asked about elephants' relatives. If you go back far enough, they also suggest that elephants have aquatic ancestors as well in their background long, long ago in terms of the evolutionary chain. And that's to do with the structure of their lungs. In fact, the lungs sit right up against the rib cage. Great way of dealing with water pressure. One of the reasons why elephants can snorkel, apart from the fact that they've got an inbuilt snorkel, which helps. Lots of elephants about. One of the other reasons I left the elephants was initially I wasn't sure where James was, and I wanted to just make sure that we didn't push the herd towards him. You never ever want to have a situation where you've got a vehicle or vehicles with elephants and a walking team. It becomes very risky. But James is out and safe. I saw him wandering down the road in his characteristic stride. Oh goodness. Just waving hello to one of the other vehicles. So for our new viewers, you will see other safari vehicles while we drive around. That's because guests do come to pay and stay in these places. And it's very important because it brings a lot of money in that can then be used for conservation. And for all of our regular viewers as well, now that we've finished with the school drive, don't forget to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. Fergs, I would like to ask you a question as we bumble along. The start of the show this afternoon, yes, the interminable pullback as I ran out of words. Did you enjoy the discomfort there?
I do. I love it.
It was very funny. I ran out of words. I was sitting just waiting for the camera so I could say this is Safari Live. It was very, very entertaining.
I was dazzled by the zebra.
Ah, Ferg was dazzled by the zebra. Right. Well, since we're busy talking nonsense, I think we should send you over to James, who talks far less nonsense.
I'm not sure that we should be talking nonsense, although one cannot help but talk nonsense from time to time. I'm doing it right now. Yes, I am. Good. What we have over here is a truly, well, not very fascinating tree, but it's quite interesting because it's a tree that has normally adapted to being eaten by elephants because elephants love it. And it's almost unidentifiable as it sits here, a lonely stick in the ground. But I don't think it's dead. I think the top part of it has died off, and I think you'll find that underneath it may well still be living. And it is called a caterpillar bush, or Ormocarpum tripocarpum. Once more, Craig.
Ormocarpum tripocarpum.
Oh, that's it, Ormocarpum tripocarpum. Well done, very good. And I just quite like that word. Words, there are two words there, Ormocarpum and tripocarpum. And what it will do is probably flush, hopefully, from the base sometime during the course of the next sort of growing season. And the elephants, for some reason, love it. I don't know why, but they break it off and they sort of savor the leaves and the caterpillar-like pods, and they chew away at the bark, and eventually you just get this little funny stick sticking in the ground. In fact, I'm going to take that back. I think this one is dead, because it seems to be about to come out of the ground. Yes, it's very dead. Let's see. Yeah, this one is no longer. Anyway, that is Ormocarpum tripocarpum. And I'm told that the bark can be used as some sort of fish poison, so you can sort of crush it up and throw it in the water and it'll kill the fish, and then if you cook the fish sufficiently, then you should be able to eat them. But I've heard that about many, many different kinds of plants out here, and I'm not sure always how true it is. I would go with the traditional method of a hook if I had one. Good. We'll leave Ormocarpum tripocarpum to its fate over there and tell you that we are approaching now Treehouse Dam, which is very close to where Tristan had the tracks of Hosanna, and we're going to head around down into this area just where Tristan couldn't go in the vehicle and see if we can't find him. Speaking of Tristan, he has got something that doesn't want him to be where he is.
Well, we do have a bird, and he's looking quite dapper in this late afternoon light, isn't it? And these grey go-away birds can actually be sometimes quite a difficult bird to get on camera. They tend to bounce around in the thickets. It's very seldom that we get them sitting right out in the open like this for long enough that we can actually show them to you on screen. They tend to be one of those birds that as you get them on camera, they tend to fly for some reason. Now, unfortunately for this grey go-away bird, in terms of the family, it's been hit a little bit with the ugly stick, I'm afraid. It's got the sort of drab grey coloration, which is perfect for the sort of habitat that they live in. They live in these wooded savannas where a grey coloration actually blends in very, very well. But if we look at the rest of the family, as you can see in my book over here, that the rest of them are really very, very pretty birds. Now I'm trying to keep my shadow out the way so that you can actually see the colours. So there we go. This is the grey go-away bird at the bottom near my thumb, and then you can see all the rest of them have got really bright colours, except for this guy. He's that sort of pale grey. And you've got the Ross's Taraka, which I'm sure we might find in the Masai Mara. I know Brent has been talking about it, and hopefully you'll find them. And then you can see you've got the beautiful green Tarakos that hang around in all the forested areas. So unfortunately the grey go-away bird really hasn't been blessed with the best looks in the family, but they are still quite nice birds, and they get that name go away from the sound that they make. They have this call that basically sounds like they're saying go away, so they go and that's how they call. It's not very good, I don't think. Seb, what do you think? Alright, not too bad. Our go-away bird is not very impressed. It's just kind of sitting there and looking at me like I'm an idiot, calling like that. But it's nice to see out in the nice sun. Have a nice day, go-away bird. I'm sure it's because it's been quite cold. The birds must be loving a little bit of sunshine. I know we had sunshine yesterday, but it was freezing yesterday. There was a cold wind that was blowing at one point, whereas today it feels a lot warmer already this afternoon. So hopefully this cold front that came off the Indian Ocean is now going to disappear, and we're not going to get any more rain for the next few days, and we'll get a little bit of warmer weather coming, which will be nice. Now, we do have some Impala rams in front of us. So this is probably just a little bachelor unit that's split off. I can't see if the others are male or not. You can just see the one directly in front of me that is a boy. So there we go. You can see he's got his horns. And don't they look amazing in this light? It's quite interesting because the male impalas are going to start losing a lot of condition, given that they are in that rutting phase at the moment and they're chasing one another and trying to go after one another. You'll find that some of them will start to look a little bit bedraggled, but this particular individual is looking really, really good. You can see how much that coat is shining, and that's because he's gotten so much nutrients out of these late rains. There's been a lot of grass that's grown in the last sort of 3 months when we've had all this rain, and that's meant that a lot of them are really looking good for this time of the year. You'll probably also find that this male might not have been territorially dominant over a herd just yet and hasn't really gone through the rut just yet, and that's why he's still in good condition. You'll find the males that are actually with a herd of females and have been chasing other males, they're the ones that tend to start looking a little bit bedraggled, and you find that their coat condition goes for a little bit, and you'll find it get much skinnier. Now, it does look like there might be some females there. I can't see, Seb, but they got horns.
That's a female.
Female, it does look like a female, so maybe he's just got himself a herd, which is nice to know. There's a male.
At the back,
Yeah.
but that one I'm feeling now, I think is a female.
Not quite sure, we'll see just now, but it might be a little bachelor group. They all look in such good condition that I would be surprised if this was a male with the females. Like I say, they chase each other around so much. Right, so while we carry on and try and see if we can't find Osana with James, I believe Brent has had some luck with cats and they are in stalk mode.
Okay guys, welcome back to Kenya. It's getting really exciting now. Now you can see zebra and the elephant, and somewhere behind that elephant in a gully are those two lionesses. Now I'm not moving because I don't want to disturb what's going on, but I'm not sure if there's gullies that get even closer, but those two lionesses are getting really close to those zebra. We're not sure where they're going to pop out from. They could pop out from that dark green bush. I think that's a likely spot for one lioness, and the other from sort of directly behind the first elephant. We've got two elephants and a herd of zebra, and the lions are just behind them somewhere. Hi Debbie. Debbie wants to know, how do the open plains change predator hunting behavior? Well, Debbie, this type of area, it's not only so much the fact that the plains are open, it's that there's just such a high density of animals, and we're very high. We're probably about 1,700 meters above sea level, so it's not very hot. You get really bad sunburn here, but in compared to the Sabi Sands, it's quite cool throughout the day, which means the lions here are more active during the day than the lions in the Sabi Sands, for instance. And it's just that there's just so much food that they hunt all the time. Now, of course, their hunting tactics will differ slightly, and it all depends on the length of the grass. So here the grass is quite short, so the lions have actually ducked into a little dried up riverbed, and they're trying to move their way around towards the zebra that way. Now, nothing is aware that the lions are there at the moment. We're not even exactly sure, 100% sure exactly where the lions are, but I would say they're no more than 50 or 60 meters from the zebra. Wait, let me just get my binoculars. Have I seen one? Have I spotted a lion? Now, just check behind that elephant a little bit, just check along the edge of where that dip is, where there's the tree and the termite mound. I see that dip runs quite far up behind the zebras, so I think the lioness might try that. They could wait a little bit, and it's going to be interesting to see if they do have a go at the zebras. Even if they don't succeed, how the elephants are going to react. Any sign of them yet, Eggs? Remember to use the hashtag Safari Live if you've got any questions for us about what's happening in the Masai Mara, in the wilderness wonderland, where we are currently based, or some of us are. No sign of those girls yet. Now, this is where a lot of people make a mistake. Now, you really want to see where the lions are, and you move the vehicle, but often that's the incorrect thing. I've positioned myself in an area I'm very happy with, and that I can completely see if the lions chase them, any direction the zebras run, we should be able to have a good view. And even though you get that sort of itch, even I get it, that, oh, I want to move, I want to see where the lions are. Often just sitting in the spot, if you've chosen your spot and you're confident it's the right spot, then just stick it out and wait. Patience is so important when watching and following big cats hunting. So, and you can see Zonde is going to stay quite wide, because we don't know where those lions are going to pop out from. So we don't want to risk the chance of missing their charge out of the little lugger. Now, a lugger is a donga or a drainage line in Swahili. So we're waiting for them to pop out of that lugger and spring upon a zebra. Okay, now the zebras are actually not quickly, but slowly moving towards where I think the lions are going to pop out from. I just can't make out a lioness just yet. And if the zebras keep moving to the left, they could find themselves on top of a lion. As I said, only 2 of the lionesses from the Ngama Pride are busy in this hunt. The other 2 were actually having a snooze. Wait, is that a lion? Is that a lion? It's not a lion. This is so exciting. And we just got to sit here and we just got to wait. It's the only thing to do. Just make sure that the lions haven't spotted something else and been sidetracked, but it doesn't look like it. I would have seen them go up on that bank on the opposite side. And now this could take a little while, but we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to sit right here and wait to see what happens. While we do that, it sounds like James is hot on some fresh tracks.
I'm not sure how hot this track is. Herbert was just giving me a lesson, and we looked at these things, and I on instinct said I thought, not that fresh. This is Hosanna from this morning, and the reason we know it's from this morning, and as Tristan said when we were last with him, the rain is on top of them. And you can see that because if you move the sand now, so if I put my handprint next to, so you can see Hosanna's footprint there. If I put a handprint next to that, I don't know if you're able to see it. It's quite a subtle difference, but the difference is that this looks like it's got a wet crust on the top of it. Hosanna's looks like it's got a wet crust. Mine very clearly does not. And so this is from before the last rains. Now, we didn't have a huge amount of rain, but we had sufficient over the last little while for it to leave a little crust on top of the tracks. So we think they're from this morning. Now, of course, these little cats have been moving quite a lot during the course of the days, and so he could be just in the bushes over here, he could be around Twin Dams, he could be somewhere way south of the boundary, so, we'll follow up and see what we can find. In the meantime, behold, certainly one of my favorite grasses out here, and a beautiful butterfly that has just flown over my head. It is called Melanus repens, the Natal red top. And I've picked it because on a day like today, you want an interesting tasting grass, you see. And this one, in order to ward off the animals from eating it, tastes like mushrooms. It's a really pleasant sort of taste. Not quite the sweetness of panicum, but the fungal taste of mushrooms. Good. Is that butterfly still here? I think it is. I think it's just over here. It was an acria, and as always, it is going towards the greatest saviour of plants in the Lowveld, and that is the Waltheria. Here they are, Craig. Now, land, butterfly, land. There it is. You got it. Well done. Beautiful. Sunlight just becoming quite perfect now. And it's a pretty good time for tracking leopards, but I just wonder, I think this little thing has moved so far over the last few days that maybe he's gone a long way from here. We didn't find any of his tracks crossing from Treehouse Dam, so I don't know. We'll go down into the drainage line here and see what we can find. Tristan is also helping us by turning around this area, so let's go and find out what he has to tell you about them.
Well, we got a bit sidetracked because the elephants are all starting to come out towards Vutomi Dam, and in this afternoon light I just thought it would be so nice to come and spend a little bit more time with them, and hopefully they're going to go down to the water and we might see them playing. So I'm just trying to find them in this little thicket now, but they are coming slowly towards us. Apparently there's another vehicle that was telling me, and so while I was kind of doing loops around and just checking for any signs of Hosanna, I thought we might as well just come and sit here for a little bit. I also don't want to do too much driving close to where James is, because we don't want to chase a leopard towards him or bump into a leopard and he's sitting on foot and they get a little bit of a fright. So we just think we'll spend a little bit more time with the Ellies and wait for it to cool down a bit. I'm hoping as it gets a little bit cooler, so Hosanna might stand up and start moving. There the elephants are. Well done, Seb. You've spotted them. Let's see if we can't get around. Can you see them from here? Not really. Okay, well then let's try and reposition, because that's what is nice about having a vehicle, is that we can reposition. I saw them quite far in the distance there. There they are. But they are definitely going down to the dam, so it's going to be really great. On Saturday I had the most incredible sighting on the TV shows of two bulls playing in the water, and so I'm hoping that this might be a repeat performance of these elephant bulls. There we've got at least sort of a small gap to be able to see them. We can just see them up in the top there. I would imagine this is probably the same herd that Jamie had, or some of the ones that James saw. They've come from that direction, and you can see they are moving straight towards us in the direction of the dam. So those of you that are watching on the dam cam as well, you are about to have a few elephants arriving there, and it promises to be quite fun. I think they're going to splash around and hopefully be quite sort of active around the water. But it looks like quite a nice herd. There's that female there with the young one. She almost looks like she might be pregnant. You can see she's quite swollen in the midsection, which is normally an indication when they do get pregnant. And I wonder if this is not the same herd we had on Saturday. If there's a female in here with half an ear, then it will be the same group that's been hanging around. And it's amazing. We had no elephants the whole of last week. Really was struggling. And then all of a sudden, we've started to find a few more of them. And in the last probably 2 days, there's just tracks of them coming in big numbers, so it seems like we are starting to see a lot more of them slowly but surely arriving. Owen, I'm not actually 100% sure. You're wondering how big an elephant's ear gets. I honestly have no idea. I've never actually measured one or seen a measurement of the ear only, so I would be completely lying if I gave you a number. I don't know if there's any viewers out there that know. You can use hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter and let us know how big an elephant's ear can grow. I would imagine it can get quite big, especially on those sort of large males. If I look at just that female that we see there, her ear must be from sort of the midpoint to the widest edge, would probably be about, I would say, just over a meter, and then probably about the same going down from the top to the longest sort of edge on the bottom there. So it's probably quite big. I would love to actually know what the answer to that is. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But you can see they're still gently feeding, so they're in no rush. They'll be enjoying this nice sort of warm afternoon after a few cold days. It's nice to have that sort of sun out, and especially after a bit of rain as well, because we found that there's rain in the soil's wet. You're going to find with the sun being out, that's going to promote growth. So for the Ellies, there's going to be sort of an abundance of food that should shoot up in the next few days, and that will mean that they'll be very happy just to feed. It's also not that hot that they have to worry about being in the shade too much, so they can kind of slowly make their way down, and then by the time the sun's getting quite low, they'll then arrive at the dam. It'll be a perfect time to have a nice late afternoon sundowner drink at Vutomi Dam, should I say. But you can see they're very, very relaxed at this stage. It's always so nice to spend time with elephants. They're the most incredible animals, and there's this very sort of strange feeling that you get amongst them. I know some people that I've worked with and have guided often are quite fearful of elephants. But for me, when I'm around them, it's just this magical feeling. It's almost like they exude some sort of confidence that just completely leaves you in awe of what they are and the size that they are and how gentle they can be. It really is quite an incredible experience to be in the middle of these herds and just to spend time around them and see the sort of nuances of each animal and how they interact with one another, and the complexities of the herd is really, really quite something. Seems like they may be changing direction a little bit and heading more towards us, which is great because, like I say, we are pretty much between the dam and where they are. Oh, there's a little one. Hello, little one. And typical, lots of attitude at that age. The teenagers tend to often see bouncing their heads and shaking their heads around and showing their ears. There we go, getting a little meal. Now it looks like a little young bull. You can see it's got quite stubby tusks already, and the females tend to have much narrower, thinner tusks, so this guy's already got quite stubby ones. It'll be difficult to know for sure. I'll only be able to tell when it actually comes out of the bush a little bit more, but he does look like a young male, and the young males are often the cheekiest of them, especially at this age. That male is probably now about 7-8 years old, so they can be very, very cheeky when they're that old. And so I'm sure when it comes a bit closer, we might see his ears coming out and a little bit more head shaking at us. They often do, and then they put their trunks up and sniff. And when you don't move, they then get a little bit sort of scared and they go running back to mom. It is quite amazing to watch. But isn't this nice? Doesn't it amaze you how they camouflage so well? You're kind of watching one or two elephants, and slowly but surely these big grey masses just start coming out more and more, and you end up seeing this massive amount of elephants all around you. It really is an incredible thing to watch. All right, so James Richard, thank you very much for this, and also thank you very much for the spider the other day. You told me it was a green lynx spider, and indeed you were correct. It was a green lynx spider, so thank you for that. You're saying that you're not sure if this is right for all elephants, but they say that the average size for an African elephant is 183 centimeters by 114. Now I said, what did I say, 1.5 by 1? Is that what I said, Seb? Something close to that, so I wasn't too far off. But yeah, 183 is quite big. I mean, that's almost 2 meters, so they can get very big. And I wonder if there's, like it says, there is an average. So I would love to know what the actual biggest ear is that's ever been recorded. That would be quite something. I wonder if there is a sort of set of data on that, or an individual whose ear is bigger than others. It would be really interesting to know, especially if you think about that really large male that they had that's in Angola, that one that weighed as much as it did and was as big as it was. I mean, it was close to 11,000 kilograms, so it was a very, very big animal. And you'd imagine that their ears would be much bigger. Although the males, it's quite funny, when they get a little bit older and they get really, really big, their heads almost get larger and larger, and the ear stays sort of the same size and almost seems to shrink down, and they kind of look as though they got a bit of an Indian elephant look as their ears get a little bit smaller. They also get very tattied and torn in places from all the thorns and fights that they've been in. So I suppose it does depend on the individual, but it would be nice to know what the biggest recorded ear is. Now I'm going to try and just reposition slightly, because most of the Ellies are just going behind the bush here. So let's just see if we can't go back a bit, Seb. But see, there's a gap. Are we good there?
Yeah.
So Seb is going to be my eyes right behind the car, so that we don't go into any tree stumps, because there's quite a few here. The Ellies have obviously been busy here in times before and pushed over a few different trees. Now there we go, they're just starting to come out, Seb. That's quite nice. So, James, you're wondering whether the elephants follow the vegetation growth after rain or if their wanderings are random. Well, no, their wanderings are not... Sorry, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied. Their wanderings are not random. They do follow rain and growth. You'll find that in this area in particular, when we have the fruiting of the marula trees, elephants start arriving en masse, and then you'll find the males will come in, and so you get them coming in to make use of that particular food source. So they do that, and the other thing that will drive them to an area is water. So if we had to lose all the water in this area, we wouldn't find elephants. They'll end up moving into other areas where there's more sort of favorable habitats, more water, but they definitely do follow food, and you'll find that the feeding behavior actually changes according to the weather. So when you've got sort of rainy weather like we've had now, they're going to be feeding more on the grasses and forbs that are growing, and as it starts to get drier, then they'll start moving onto leaves and bark and roots. Now we're going to stay with our elephants, and hopefully they're going to go down to the dam and they're going to spoil us with lots of playing. But let's jump across to Jamie, who I believe is trying to spot a spotted cat.
I've got exciting news. We're on Cheetah Plains and we've got a leopard. We've just got here in time because apparently she's about to cross into Nkoro. I'm just going to double check and see where exactly she is. Move nice and slowly. This grass is so long. There she is. I think that's her. Let's go and have a look-see. I'm not sure which leopard it is. I'm really hoping for Nkanyeni. Really hoping. Sorry, let's just see. Ferg, can you spot spots? Not yet. Where is she? She's in the block. Okay. Perfect, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to get hold of you just to come quickly before she crosses. Let's catch up with her. She's so close to the boundary. I still haven't seen Nkanyeni. She's one leopard that I have not seen here. I think, though, from what the guides are saying, there she is. I think it's Kuchava, which is also very exciting. Kuchava, of course, is the daughter of Tundi, granddaughter of Karula. There she is. Let's see who this is. Oh, goodness. Long grass and spots. There she goes over there. Which leopard is this? Can you see her there, Ferg? I don't want to get too close if it is Kuchava. She's not 100% comfortable with vehicles. She's not nearly as relaxed as some of our other leopards. Where did you go, sweet girl? There she is, there she is, there she is. Just behind that silver cluster leaf. There she is. Wonderful. Well done, Fergus. Spots in the grass. Oh, which leopard this is. Until she pops out. And that could be that. Phew, that was close. We nearly missed her. Let's go figure out which leopard we've got here. Where's she gone? Let's just make sure I'm not about to miss. She changes direction. No, she's not changing direction. Let's go get ahead of her. And then I'm going to need your help, because if it's in Nkanyeni, I've never seen her before. I will not know. And I've only seen Kuchava twice, both times very briefly. Let's not block her. I don't want to block her at all. I don't want her to make her feel uncomfortable. She's going to pop out shortly, unless she's settled down. There she is. I can just see her. Well, at least I can. Is that her there, Ferg, or am I imagining things? There she is. She's just in front there. That's it. That is her. Believe it or not, at the base of that fallen over dead tree, there's spots there. I promise you I can see spots. Am I going mad? Maybe I am. Here we go. There she is. That looks like Kuchava to me. Am I wrong? Everybody, those of you who've got a slightly better view of her, I'm pretty sure that is Kuchava, who is somewhat nervous of vehicles, and actually that's the reason why she's named Kuchava. Scared. So we'll give her a little bit of extra room. Oh, she's beautiful. Pretty sure that's her. Looks like Tundi. She is Tundi's daughter. Oh, shame. She's sat down so close to the boundary. The poor people on the other side have been waiting to see her. That's all right. They'll get their chance. I don't think she's going to stay here. We're going to sit with the pretty cat, whoever she may be, while we wait for her to become slightly more out into the open. Let's head... Oh, hold on, Bex, can I... Hold on a sec. There she is. She's out in the open, moving straight towards us. There we go. Looks like a young leopard to me. I actually initially thought I was on my way to Vutomi, so this is a really lovely surprise. Not that Vutomi wouldn't be wonderful, but this is not in Kanyeni, is it? There she goes. Well, I'm really glad to catch up with her. It's been a very, very long time since I last saw this particular female. If it's her, you can of course confirm that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. There she goes. That is almost at the point of being at Nkoro's boundary. There we go. Off Cheetah Plains. Across the road. And north into Nkoro. We'll stick with her till she vanishes away from us. We were very lucky. The vehicles all let us come ahead of them because we of course can't drive on this particular property. So it swings and roundabouts for our new viewers. There are certain places we can drive, certain places we can't, and all lodges have a situation like that. Just to make sure that the land is not overpressurized. There she goes. And she's vanished off into Nkoro. Okay, while we figure out who she is, let's send you back across to Tristan with his elephants.
Well, at least Jamie got to see her. I would be quite interested to know who it is. We haven't seen Kuchava for quite some time, so it would be nice if it was her or any other. Maybe this is this unknown leopard that was mating, although if it's very small then I would imagine it must be Kuchava. But these Ellies are slowly but surely just coming closer and closer, and we're being absolutely spoilt in this late afternoon light, and this herd is so nice and relaxed. They just seem to be very chilled with us. Now what's quite interesting is I was saying earlier that they will follow food. Now you can see this elephant is right at a bush with very bright yellow flowers. Now you would think the nectar from those flowers would be really nutritious and that they'd want to, but for some reason they don't want to get involved. Hello, my girl. Come look at this little baby, Seb. He's got little babies coming bouncing down the road. Hello, guys. Are you guys slowly going down for a drink? Isn't this amazing? Absolutely incredible. There's one Ellie that just decided to destroy the road while it walks across, dragging his feet. Hi, guys. And there's always one that has to come with the head shaking. Hello. I think that's our naughty boy from earlier. Like I said, I'm sure he's going to do the same thing. And you can see they're now heading down towards the dam cam. So if you are watching the dam cam, it'll be a good place to just see, and, well, with us as well. But they are slowly moving down that area. I'm going to just try and get back down towards where they're going to drink so that we can maybe just see them drinking. Now there will be a vehicle that's going to come past us. Andrew from Cheetah Plains is with us as well, so he's also admiring this beautiful sight of these Ellies moving through the